Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. So, it's the end of the year. We're going to go through just, some horror movies here and there. Basically, my top 5 best horror movies and my top 5 worst horror movies. There are going to be a couple honorable mentions here and there. To be fair, this year, for the most part, I kind of steered clear away from, the bad movies. So, my bottom 5, I just didn't like in general, but I can guarantee there were worse movies that I saw. These are just what I saw, and I don't really want to waste my time seeing something absolutely terrible just so I can put it on a list at the end of the year. But either way, let's start with the worst, because there were some bad movies. So first up on my list is going to be Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I mean, who knows? Maybe some of my movies in my top 5 worst are going to be your favorites. So film is all subjective. It's, completely different. I might like what you don't like or vice versa. But I'm just going to let you know what I didn't like. And, of course, down in the comment section below, let me know. I love that movie. You're an idiot for not liking that movie. Or I hated that movie. I don't know why it's on your top 5. Get crazy down there. But either way, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. That movie, that property just became fair game, fair use. So everybody just jumped on it. And by everybody, I mean one movie, so far at least. It just wasn't good. I mean, it was a low-budget horror movie. They jumped on Winnie the Pooh because they could, and they wanted to make a horror movie. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. It's kind of like almost so bad it's good kind of thing. I mean, of course, there's some pretty solid kills in there, but I don't know. Just watch it for yourself, If you like it, you like it, but I couldn't do it. I watched it one time. I don't think I want to watch it again. So next up, we have Pet Sematary Bloodlines. It just didn't do it for me. I mean, there's nothing I can say about it. Basically, it's Judd Crandall, him as a young kid, 1960s, late 1960s or so. But if you've read the book, it's all of the stories, or most of kind of like interwoven stories that he tells Lewis, kind of what happened when they brought back, a prized bull, or one of the guys brought back his son and stuff like that. So it kind of is a prequel to the original, and it just didn't. It was just a kind of hot mess. I stopped caring about anybody. There's no real character driven, oh man, I really hope that guy survives. I like his character. It's more like, kill him off. That's fine with me. I didn't even care about Judd, and I love Judd in the movie, and I love Judd even more in the book. But no, not for me. They really just made a movie, called it Pet Sematary, and then whatever they wanted to, because they wanted to make money off of the name. Next up is going to be Children of the Corn, of course, another movie based off of Stephen King's work. It's just, I feel like Stephen King, you hit or you miss. There's no in between. And of course, Children of the Corn, if you've watched the original, I watched it when I was a kid, and it scared, pardon my French, but scared the shit out of me. I didn't want to go into a cornfield, and I lived in a city that had just corn all around it for the most part. I mean, you drove 5 miles out, corn everywhere. So that scared the crap out of me. So the movie itself, horrifying. The movie overall, it's not that great. The acting's not the best, but it's still a very solid horror movie. But the remake, which we're talking about now, no. It kind of starts where all of the kids start to take over and murder all of the adults. So, I mean, that part's gets a little crazy, and that part maybe isn't enjoyable or so, just to see kind of how all of that took place. But for the most part, it's boring. It's slow. Again, you don't care about any of the characters. You don't really care what happens in the movie whatsoever. And of course, that's not really a good movie if you don't care. Next up in my top 5, really these don't go in order. These are just 5 movies that I really just didn't like. But I know this one might ruffle some feathers, and I'll give stipulations to this, but Renfield. Besides Nick Cage, I feel like if the movie had 80% more Nick Cage as Dracula, I would have loved it a lot more. But it feels like they use Nick Cage, which I feel like a lot of movies do, with Nick Cage, John Travolta, Bruce Willis, Steven Seagal. But a lot of movies use that name recognition to get their movie out there because everybody loves Nick Cage and they're going to go see it. But I just didn't. I didn't like the side story with, I can't even remember her name. I really can't. I think Aquafina, I think it is. But I didn't like her side story where her dad got murdered and basically she was trying to find out who it was and ended up being the cops, blah, 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 blah. All of that was just nonsense. If you made a movie around Nick Cage being Dracula, I feel like that would have been 10 times better. And when we get Nick Cage as Dracula in this movie, loved it. I loved every second of it. I could have watched an entire movie of just Nick Cage as Dracula. But once you get to the small subplots and you get to the random characters that are in it for like 5 or 10 minutes, it loses me. That's plain and simple. Plus a lot of the CGI blood, especially in that apartment scene in the big square that they're in, and he's just basically killing people left and right. And you just see CGI blood shooting everywhere. It drives me nuts. Just use practical stuff. It's easy. I don't want to say it's easy, but just do it. It looks 10 times better. And I can say without a doubt, this next movie is my most hated of this year. Yes, I didn't like it. I liked Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey more. I like Children of the Corn more, which they all suck. But I hated this movie. I don't know why, but I just absolutely hated it. Insidious Red Door. And I feel bad because Patrick Wilson was his first directing debut. I guess directing debut would be his first, so that makes kind of an oxymoron to say that. But I just hated this movie. I was watching it and it literally was like, jump scare. Yep, jump scare right there. Yep, that one's coming. Okay, cool. Let's kind of get this moving. And it's so, I don't know, it's poorly written. Let's just say that. Because you have the kid who's just super pissed off at everybody for no reason. You have the dad who's a terrible dad all of a sudden. The parents are broken up and, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to be a father anymore. And it's so cliche. And at this point, I just feel like Insidious movies are just slowly dying off and they're just getting worse and worse and worse. And they're just using name recognition to basically make money off of it. And I'm sure this was successful in the theaters and it made money. I'm sure it made its budget back and probably more. But my God, this movie was just so slow. All of the drama that was in the movie was just so poorly written. I literally kept looking at my clock like, okay, we're an hour into this movie. And it felt like 5 or 6 hours. That's over the top. But it just was bad. I don't know. Let me know with my top 5 right here. Or worst 5, whatever you want to call it. But what do you guys think about that? But either way, let's get into the top 5, my favorite movies that I saw this year. So I have 2 honorable mentions right off the bat that are in my top 5 best horror movies that I enjoyed this year. First one is going to be Scream 6. I liked the first 80% of the movie. I thought it was different. We were in New York. Of course we're playing the whodunit is Scream. Everybody's going to go different which ways, and you're going to think it's this person, and it's actually this person. I enjoyed it. It was brutal when it needed to be. It threw you off with the beginning, because usually you get that beginning and you don't know who Ghostface is, but we find that out rather quickly. But it's not actually Ghostface. It's, So there were different things in this movie that I really enjoyed. The last 20 minutes, the third act, I hated it. I hated the reveal. I hated the killers. I hated why they were killing. I hated all, whatever. I guess spoilers, but there's 3 of them. They were all annoying, and I just wanted them all to die. I just didn't care. After that, the first 80 minutes, good God. The first 80% of the movie, I really enjoyed. I was in it. I was ready for it. And then the third act reveal just killed it. Next up, another honorable mention, which again, this might be some people's favorites, but Saw 10. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a nice coming back to form with Saw, because I really did not like the last 4 or 5. I just thought they were just super jump cutty, which all of them are. That's Saw. That's the movie. That's the franchise you get. But I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good coming back to form with, we have Tobin and he's great as Saw, or as Jigsaw. There you go. But there were some issues here and there. It seemed a little slow, which I get it. It's more character building and you kind of feel sorry for him, even though he's just like a mass murderer, but not, because he has other people kill themselves in traps if they don't want to, whatever. But it was a good movie overall. It's just not in my top 5. First up in my top 5, going to be Totally Killer. I'm pretty sure this is an Amazon produced movie as well. I just enjoyed it. It was a fun ride. You know, you really didn't need to turn on a bunch of brain cells to enjoy this movie. It was basically just another slasher with a different kind of twist on it. You know, going to the future and going to the past and kind of figuring out who the killer was and why the killer changed and didn't change. It was a good, fun movie. Yes, it did have issues, but I feel like a lot of those issues you could overlook because you were enjoying the movie. Next up is going to be No One Will Save You. I really enjoyed this movie. I will say, if you don't like movies with no words, you're probably not going to like this movie. But this movie does build tension. It has a lot of nuances that you don't really catch on the first watch. A lot of things that maybe a second watch what you would see in the beginning of the movie that carry over kind of into the second and third act. Plus, it's got aliens. Come on. And they're like your cliche looking gray tone, big eyes aliens. There's a couple different versions of those aliens and kind of how they attack and why they attack and whatever, and you know what their plan is. But overall, I mean, you really don't get a definitive reason they're there. You don't get a definitive reason. You don't get just a solid, drawn out ending. It's up to interpretation, but that's why I like this movie. You can interpret it different ways. You know, was she abducted? Was she not? Was she allowed to be with the aliens? Was it not? You know, it's different. It's up in the air. And that's what I like about this movie. You can kind of see it different ways. So if you're at a different time in your life, you might see it a certain way. If somebody else is somewhere else, they might see it a different way. Next up is going to be Brandon Cronenberg's Infinity Pool. This movie is just a wild ride. If you know any of the Cronenberg's work, you know it's going to be a wild ride. I enjoyed this movie, especially on a second watch. I feel like some of these movies if you watch it a second time, you appreciate a lot of the things that you miss in the beginning of the movie, first, second act or so, that kind of lead into the third act, which I'm all for, because I feel like you can't just watch a movie one time and be like, bam, I hate this movie, it sucks, it's terrible. Because I know a lot of the times, especially when you take a break from it and rewatch it later, it definitely can grow on you, and a lot of movies will definitely do that. But either way, I absolutely I would say loved, but I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is kind of balls to the wall. Mia Goth, fantastic. I can't wait to see what she does in Maxine. So either way, check out Infinity Pool. It's crazy. So if you're not into like body horror-ish type stuff and kind of weird, out there kind of, I guess, script, you might not want to watch it. But if you're into that stuff and you like the Cronenberg's family, you're going to enjoy it. And these last two are basically tied for my top 2 horror movies that I enjoyed for the last year. First one we're just going to talk about, Talk to Me. I feel like this was just a small little indie film that got blown up. Everybody saw the trailers and thought, wow, this looks awesome. I absolutely love this movie. I love what it did. I love how it gives you a different perspective on damned souls and, you know, entities and, you know, where you go when you die or why you're there kind of thing. Like, it's just, I loved the movie. I really enjoyed it. It's great where you can see, you know, demons and ghosts and possessions and like manipulation of those things to get people to do what the demons and ghosts want them to do. Also, the ending, again, absolutely loved it. I would say it was a little choppy for me a little bit in the third act before she gets all the way to the end. But I love that it gives you a nice perspective on basically they're talking to people and they're opening up that door. And at the end of this movie, you basically can see the other side of that door. If you've seen the movie, you kind of understand and it makes sense. If you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see the movie. I don't want to spoil it for you any more than I just may have. But either way, go watch this movie. It's a small little indie film that just got blown up and it's fantastic. And last but not least, I just gotta say, I'm a big fan of Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, even the Ash vs. Evil Dead series. Evil Dead Rise. I absolutely love this movie from start to finish. Yes, there are some stupid things. I mean, really, they're horror cliches. When people knock the demonic possessed person down, run away. Go do something else. Or, like in Zombieland, double tap them. Do something. Don't just sit there and, conversate with the person next to you like, hey, yeah, we just, you see that demon over there that we knocked unconscious for a couple seconds? We're good. Other than that, fun ride. I absolutely loved it. It's a great callback to Evil Dead and that over-the-top Sam Raimi-esque type of filming. You get the possession following scenes. I did actually pick up The Evil Dead Rise. This is just out there, but I picked up the Evil Dead Rise vinyl record from Waxwork. I posted it on TikTok if you guys want to watch it. It's somewhere on there. Maybe I'll post it in the description so you guys can see it if you want to. But it's absolutely fantastic. You get the reading from the book, and you get it. It's like that really eerie, like grindy voice. It just sounds fantastic. I'm still here, so I didn't get possessed, thank God. But start to finish, it's just such a fun ride. Yes, there's stupid things that happen in the movie that real life you probably wouldn't have happened. But either way, fun. I loved it. That and Talk to Me are my top 2 of all time. At least in 2023. I wouldn't say all time. But either way, what did you guys think of the list? Did you think it's good? Bad? Did you hate my top 5? Did you hate my worst 5? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. That way you can hear every single time I post a video. We're getting close to 500. I think I'm only 20-ish away. And then who knows? Maybe we'll do a giveaway. But either way, we will see you guys in another video.